Hey everybody, today I have a 2009 Jerry's Escape Limited and we're going to be doing rear shocks on it. So the first thing that you notice when we're doing the rear shocks, let me come over here, is there is the top of the shock right here and the bolt stud is in the trunk. So we're going to have to take the rear panels off in the trunk. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this piece here. You just grab it and pull it up. I've already released this and that will come off. So there's the first piece. So now this also opens up, but you can't get in here to access anything. So I just pull that off just to get it out of the way because it's probably going to come flying off. So I have these plastic pry tools that I like to use. So we're going to get up here, and first thing we're going to do is we're going to pry off this upper one here. Let's take a peek down here. Okay, so this panel is pushed into this. So actually we probably didn't need to take that off. So now this piece should start to pop off. Okay, we are gonna have to take the carpeting out. I thought that it was, this carpeting was above it, but it is not. So we're gonna have to remove this carpeting because this panel sits underneath. So now that we have that popped, we just keep popping it. And what I usually do is I try not to take it completely out. There is the top of the shop right there. So what I'll do is I'll put a piece of, I should have one of these. And what I'll do is I'll stick it in here. Anything, a piece of wood, a stick, an extension. These work really good because it's got the wide head. So there. So now I have that in here holding the panel back, and I'll do the exact same thing on the other side. And you can see right here that this panel here actually goes in before this panel. So now I can take the top of the shock off here. Let me go get the wrench and we'll take the top of the shock off. They are a 15, but it looks like they're so tight. I'm gonna have to get a ratcheting wrench and something to hold the top because that did not work. All right, everybody, here I want to show you, I have a special tool for doing these shocks. This socket actually is a double D that'll fit on the end of the shock. So what you do is you put this on, make sure you got the right size, and then this sleeve slides over, and then you could take and put this on, and then this slides over your nut, and you hold, this will give you to hold the shock so you can get the nut unscrewed. Very old tool. I don't know if you can still buy it or not, but it comes in two different sizes. As you can see, it's got the double D. One to 9/16, one to 15 millimeter. So I'll show you on the car. I already did the one. I'll have to get the other panel off. I'll show you how it works on the other side. All right, so what you want to do first is you want to find the socket that fits on the nut. This is the 9/16. This is the 15 millimeter. See how it fits on? And I'll put my ratcheting 19 millimeter wrench first. And now I have the double D socket already mounted on here. I'll sit this in there until it catches. So now I have it caught, and I'll just hold the top of the shock while I ratchet the bottom nut. Like I said, this is a very old tool. I've probably had this tool for 30 years, 40 years. And it comes in handy. It definitely comes in handy on stuff like this. You can use just a pair of channel locks. Well, not channel locks. I would put a vice grips on the top and hold it with the vice grips. But this, like I said, this tool makes it so much easier. Loose enough. Yep, there we go. And there we go. It's off. So now we have the tops of the shocks off. Now we'll go below. Now you got to be careful. You don't want the springs coming out, but I do believe since this one has a sway bar, the springs won't come out. Let me get it up in the air. So that's why, if you notice, I have the car on the ground. So now what I'll do is I'll lift the car really slowly. And the springs, you gotta be careful of the springs. So you can see the shock only came out of the hole that much. That's good because the sway bar is holding everything together. All right, let me get it up in the air and I'll come back. All right, so I lifted the car up very slowly to make sure the spring doesn't come out, but the sway bar here is keeping it from dropping down any lower. So we don't have to worry about the spring. The shock is loose. So now we'll just go ahead and take the nut off the bottom. And these are actually bolts. See how it comes out? But it's got a little, let me grab you. You don't have to worry about holding this end of the bolt because it's got this little grabber. So when you tighten it, it swings around and grabs. Okay, so go ahead and push that out. Set the washer there. And down comes the shock. Now, one of the problems I have with doing shocks on these is the bushings that come on the new shocks are not the right ones. So these are in good shape, so I'm gonna have to reuse them. Let me get these switched over to the new shocks and I'll be back. So you can see right here, this is the lower bushing, the original lower bushing. These are the bushings they send you are like standard shock bushings. And the problem is the shaft doesn't, the hole is that big. So you possibly could use that hole, but it still can move around. I still like using the original ones. So I'm gonna end up using one of the new washers with that, and I'm gonna reuse the other bushing, this washer, and that nut so it fits properly. Well, while you're on, I'm gonna go ahead and put that on and that on. So now that's all ready to be reinstalled in the car. So what I'm going to do is I just have this hand tight. I'm going to lower the car on the ground and then retighten these up so I don't tear the bushing out. So now all I have to do is do the other side and we'll put the car the rest of the way back together. Okay, so I've lowered the car and now the shocks have pushed back through exactly where they belong. And see, there's the lower bushing sticking through. Now here is the upper bushing with the upper nut. Of course, this is a different thread than this. So I'm gonna have to take the rubber bushing. I'm gonna have to take the rubber bushing out of this. So they are kind of glued, so you just need a screwdriver. And then you can get the screwdriver underneath and you can start prying the upper bushing off. And drop it on the floor. There we go. So now there is the old upper bushing. You set that on top like that. And now we're going to use the new upper washer and the new nut. And now we're going to tighten this down. Actually, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to let the car down just a hair more. I do believe these are 9/16. So I need to tighten those up. So I'm going to go ahead and let the car down a little bit more to make sure that the shocks have some weight on it, which I do believe they do. And now I'll get my 9/16 wrench, which I don't have here. I'll get my 9/16 ratcheting wrench. Oh, this is a 15. It seems to be working. And that's about as far as I'm going to go. See, the bushing is crushed. I already have this side put together, and I'll do the same thing here. There's a little bit of resistance, and the bushing is crushed, so that should be good. So now I'll pull out my windshield washer arms, let the panels fall back in, and I'll put the panels back in, and then I'll crawl back underneath and I'll tighten the two shock bolts. All right, everybody, there's an overview on how to do the rear shocks on a 2009 Ford Escape or a square body Ford Escape. I do not know if you can still buy this tool. I do believe this tool was made by Lyle. It's a very handy tool, but I don't think you can buy it anymore. So I would do an internet search and see if you can find one. They're a very handy tool to have. When you need them, you need them. All right, everybody, I'm gonna leave it there. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. You can always do that in that corner there. Please give me a thumbs up if you like my automotive videos.